In a quiet valley, nestled between whispering woods and sparkling streams, lived a humble woodcutter named Elias. Every day, from the first light of dawn until the stars appeared, he would chop wood, carrying it down the mountain to trade for the simple things in life, like bread and salt. Elias didn't have much, but his heart was full of kindness, and his laughter often rang out through the tall pine trees. His two older brothers, however, were a different story. They were clever with their words, but short on compassion. They mocked Elias for his simple life and spent their days boasting about their grand plans to become rich and famous. While they schemed, Elias was happy to whistle a tune while helping a neighbor mend a broken fence or gathering firewood for an elderly friend. One crisp winter morning, their father, old and frail, called his three sons to his bedside. "My time is growing short," he whispered, his voice weak. "But deep in the heart of the forest, there stands a tree older than any king. Cut it down, and perhaps fortune will smile upon you." The elder brothers, their minds already spinning with thoughts of gold and glory, bolted out the door without a second thought for Elias. The eldest, driven by greed, was the first to reach the forest. He quickly found a magnificent oak, its trunk so wide it seemed to touch the sky, with golden light filtering through its branches. As he eagerly raised his axe, a small grey fox with bright, intelligent eyes appeared from the underbrush. "Good sir," said the fox, its voice surprisingly clear, "I am so hungry and cold. Could you spare a small piece of bread before you begin your work?" But the man just sneered. "Go away, you foolish creature. I have no time for beggars." He swung his axe with all his might, but the moment it struck the tree, the handle shattered, sending a jolt of pain up his arms. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't make a single dent in the ancient oak. Frightened and furious, he dropped the broken axe and fled the forest. Next, the second brother arrived, his chest puffed out with pride. He, too, saw the grand oak and imagined the riches it held. And just like before, the little grey fox appeared, asking for a small piece of bread. "Out of my way, beast," he snapped, his voice dripping with disdain. "I won't waste my food on some talking animal." He swung his axe, but the blade flew right off the handle, burying itself deep in the earth. His courage vanished in an instant, and he ran home, convinced the forest was cursed. Finally, it was Elias's turn. His clothes were torn and his boots were patched, but he walked with a gentle spirit. Tucked safely in his pouch was his small lunch, a single piece of hard bread. When the fox emerged from the trees, trembling from the cold, Elias didn't hesitate. He knelt down and smiled warmly. "Of course, little one," he said, breaking his bread in two. "You can have half. It isn't much, but it's enough for both of us." The fox ate the bread gratefully, its golden eyes shining with a strange light. "You have a kind heart, Elias," it said. "Now cut the tree. You will find what your brothers could not." Elias trusted the little creature. He took his axe and gave a firm strike to the trunk. To his amazement, the tree opened as if it were made of light. There, nestled inside a hollow on a bed of soft moss, lay a goose with feathers that shone like pure, polished gold. Its eyes sparkled like dewdrops in the morning sun. "Take me home," said the goose, its voice as soft as the wind rustling through the leaves. "Treat me well, and fortune will follow you wherever you go." Carefully, Elias lifted the golden goose into his arms and started the journey back to the village. The goose was surprisingly light, and its warmth spread through his coat. That evening, he decided to stop at an inn to rest. The innkeeper had 3 daughters who couldn't take their eyes off the magnificent bird. Its feathers gleamed in the firelight, and they whispered among themselves, each one secretly wishing to pluck just a single golden feather for herself. Later that night, after Elias was asleep, the eldest daughter tiptoed into his room. She crept toward the golden goose, her fingers trembling with excitement. But as she reached out to touch its wing, her hand stuck fast. She gasped, trying to pull away, but she was completely stuck. A few moments later, the second sister came in to see what was taking so long. She tried to pull her older sister free, but as soon as she touched her, she too became stuck. Finally, the youngest sister, giggling at the strange sight, came to help and immediately found herself glued to the other 2. There they were, a chain of 3 squealing, struggling sisters, attached to a perfectly calm golden goose. When Elias woke up the next morning, he couldn't help but laugh at the absurd sight. "Well," he said with a cheerful shrug, "if you wish to come along, so be it." He picked up his goose and continued on his way with the 3 sisters stumbling and complaining behind him. Their journey became a spectacle. As they walked through the village square, townsfolk stared, pointed, and then burst into laughter. A baker, thinking he could help the girls, rushed out and grabbed one of them, only to find himself stuck fast in the chain. Then a milkmaid, then a shepherd, and even a stern-looking town guard joined the parade. Before long, a whole procession of shouting, giggling, and bewildered people was trailing behind Elias and his golden goose, winding its way toward the castle on the hill. Now, in that castle lived a princess whose heart was so heavy with sadness that she had never once laughed. Not even the funniest jesters, the most beautiful music, or the most extravagant gifts could bring a smile to her face. Her father, the king, had grown desperate and promised her hand in marriage to anyone who could finally make her laugh. That morning, the princess was gazing sadly from her balcony when she saw the commotion below. Her eyes widened as she watched Elias marching calmly with a golden goose, followed by a long tangled chain of her subjects, all stuck together and hopping along. The sight was so utterly ridiculous, so wonderfully absurd, that a small giggle escaped her lips. Then another. Soon she burst into a peal of laughter so bright and clear that it filled the entire courtyard. Bells began to ring, the king came running out, and for the first time in years the sound of pure joy echoed through the castle walls. The king, true to his word, was overjoyed. Elias married the beautiful princess, and the Golden Goose was given a place of honor in the royal gardens, where its feathers lit up the flowers and paths. At the wedding feast, as music and celebration filled the air, the little fox appeared one last time, its fur now shining like silver in the moonlight. It looked at Elias and said, "You shared your bread with me when you had little. Now, happiness will never leave your home." And with a final knowing glance, it vanished. Elias's brothers, humbled and astonished by what they had witnessed, finally understood. It wasn't cleverness or greed that brought true fortune, but kindness. They came to work alongside Elias in the kingdom, and peace was restored to their family. And so, the story of the Golden Goose became a legend in the valley, a timeless reminder that the greatest treasures are not found in what we take, but in what we give. Thank you so much for watching this story unfold. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a like and consider subscribing for more tales that warm the heart. We'll see you next time.